Hi everyone, my name is Emily and I'm the Young Adult Librarian at the Rock Island Public Library. And today I'm here with another one-title book talk for a book that is called The Name of the Star. And yeah, my jacket matches. I didn't mean to do that, but let's pretend I did. So in this book, you meet a girl named Rory. And Rory is a senior in high school, and her parents have just been offered jobs teaching in England. So Rory, she could do her senior year in Louisiana, where she and her family have always lived, and she could stay with an aunt and uncle, keep going to her same high school. But Rory thinks, wow, I could go to boarding school in England? That seems pretty fun. So her parents are happy to have her closer. They're thrilled that she's going to at least be in the same country as they are. But for Rory, this is going to be a big change. High school in England is a lot like college in America. So for every hour of class she has something like 2 hours of homework some nights. And that's a lot. But there's also the fact that at this school, field hockey is a big deal. And Rory has never played field hockey. So there's kind of a learning curve there too. Like, in addition to the culture shock of living in a new country, and she's living away from her parents for the first time. Like, she's at boarding school, so that means she's living there, she has a roommate, and she'll see her parents sometimes on the weekends, but that's it. So at the start of this book, when Rory first arrives in England, she's mostly just concerned with, figuring out where her classes are and learning how to not, totally mess up at field hockey. But the very day that she arrives in England, what happens is someone is murdered. And unfortunately, Rory's living in London. London is a big city, and sometimes people do get murdered. But the strange thing is that this happened on the same day and at the same time and in roughly the same place that Jack the Ripper killed someone about 100 years ago. And if you've never heard of Jack the Ripper, he killed, this was again over a century, famously murdered at least 5 women. Some people say as many as 7. I think there's only 5 confirmed cases that, yeah, this was probably definitely the same person. But the killer was never caught. And Jack the Ripper was kind of the first modern serial killer in the sense that people talked about him in a certain way, and people still, remember this story as this, grim chapter in the history of London. But also, it was kind of like the first time newspapers covered something like this, because this was in the early days of psychology. So instead of just wondering, when this would stop and who was doing this, there was also a question of why. Why would a person do something like this? So Rory, again, she's not aware of this whole thing at first. But after there's a second murder, the police are very much more on alert, because the second victim was, again, killed on the same day, same time, same place, as one of Jack the Ripper's victims. So now the police are very concerned that they're dealing with a serial killer who, copied the first 2 murders, so this person may be going to continue this. And Rory becomes very much aware of that when her school is closed for a day. It's basically shut down because, the police investigating this, people from around the world, criminologists, they've kind of done a map. And, Rory's school is in, a perimeter where one of the murders happened. The place has changed in 100 years, but there's still this big courtyard outside the school, and people are pretty sure that, yeah, we're going to find a victim here unless we really are careful and, fill this place with police and try and catch the killer. So, this is alarming for a couple of reasons. Rory doesn't mind having a day off necessarily. She's been working really hard at her new school. But the day that this happens, it becomes a lot more real. There's no class. It's just like, hey, kids, everybody at our school, just stay inside, don't get murdered. That's your only job today. And what happens is everybody's on their phones, they're looking at the news on their computers, on the TV, in the common room. The thing that is really alarming at first, the first alarming thing, there's more than one murder on this day. And the victim that is, discovered by the police, they announce it on the news, it's a man. So that's the first unusual thing, because all of Jack the Ripper's original victims were women. And so, this leads to a lot of speculation, oh, this killer is a copycat, but is doing things a little bit differently. The focus doesn't seem to be on gender or, like this killer is branching out. They're deviating from what the police thought they could expect. And of course, to hear that somebody's been killed nearby, that's distressing news. But, even worse for, like, Rory and Jazz as her roommate. Jazz is, like, kind of really upset by this because it's like, yikes, somebody's gonna get murdered outside of our school. If the police are right and this killer follows the schedule as it is set out by history, it's different when you're talking about these things, in the abstract than to have them happen, like, right outside where you live. But what happens the night that this is all happening? The school is shut down and it's like, you can't leave school grounds, just stay inside. Well, Rory and her roommate get a message from Jerome. This is their friend over in the boys' dorm. And he says, hey, you guys should really, like, come over here and, check this out. I can see, like, I'm up on the roof, I can see everything. I'm gonna get to see the cops catch this guy. This is gonna be amazing. They're gonna catch this horrible serial killer. Well, it would be nice to have this person get caught. And it seems like, oh, surely they won't be able to miss this person. The courtyard is all lit up, there's tons of people everywhere. The police have created a perimeter. But, Rory and her roommate, they're not sure because they know, hey, we shouldn't be leaving school because, there's a serial killer outside. But it's not like they're going to be walking across the courtyard, or they won't even be outside for more than a few seconds. So eventually Rory and Jazz agree, okay, this seems pretty safe. Like, they know from Jazz's experience that there is a bathroom window that you can get out of. Like, the other windows are, for safety reasons, kept locked. But this one is on the ground floor. You can just open it and climb out. So they do this. They go over to the boys' dorm and they meet Jerome, go up on the roof, and they start looking out over this sea of people outside in the courtyard, waiting to see the killer get caught. And they're up there for hours. And the police don't find anybody. It's no one's out there who shouldn't be. So finally, Rory and her roommate agree, all right, I don't think they're gonna find this person tonight. I'm glad they didn't find another murder victim also, but let's just go back inside, I'm tired, let's go to sleep. So they go back downstairs, out the boys' dorm, and then they're going through this window. Like, Jazz, the roommate, she's already climbed in, and Rory's about to follow her when she notices this weird guy standing over by some bushes. And her first thought is, well, this must be a cop because everybody out here is. They're wearing kind of the British police uniform. Many of them have vests, but some of them are just in suits. Some of them are just, like, dressed in plain clothes. And that's what Rory thinks this guy must be doing. Like, oh, okay, he's just, a plainclothes cop. But as she's about to climb in the window, this guy looks at her and he's like, hey, you better get back inside. There's a killer on the loose. And Rory's just like, haha, yeah, okay, thanks. Goes back in the window. Like, well, that was a little bit weird, but he's right, I wasn't supposed to be outside. Well, the next day, a victim is discovered near the spot where that guy was standing. But it's not that guy's body, it's someone else's body that is found. So Rory goes to the police. Like, there's still a desk at the school where the police are like, hey, if you saw anything, please tell us. And Rory goes to them and says, yeah, this is what happened. I don't know who this person was, but maybe they weren't a police officer like I thought they were. So the problem for Rory in this book from this point on is that she can see this killer and most other people can't. And a big question of the book is why? How is that possible? You get some other parts, this is a mystery, so you have, it's mostly Rory's point of view, but you also have, like, some scenes with the police and, like, the BBC, they're investigating this, trying to solve this murder, series of murders at this point. And at one point, it is discovered that whoever the killer is, they do not show up on camera. Like, you can record them with your phone or whatever, and he won't show up. Now, this is odd. This is a great ability to have because London has more closed-circuit TV cameras than anywhere in the world. And that's great normally, like if you have something stolen or, if somebody commits any kind of crime, well, they're on video, so it's easier to catch them. But not with this killer. With this guy, you see people in recordings being murdered, but you don't see the murderer. So Rory has to figure out, all right, what's happened to me that I'm able to see this person that other people can't see? And I mean, she's a high school student. How is she going to help the police solve this murder? Not everybody believes her. That's part of the problem. But there are people who do. And as this book is ending, there are 2 sequels. This is a trilogy. But this one you can just read by itself, because the book is, Rory struggling to figure out what has happened, now that she can see things that other people can't. How is that going to change her life? What is going to happen next? So if you like mysteries, it's a very good book. And it's just a really kind of interesting twist on the genre. I guess for me, sometimes the hardest thing with thrillers is, they have to explain, okay, why is this high school student solving a murder? Like, why is this plausible? And in this one, the book becomes not just a regular murder mystery, but a supernatural mystery partway through. And that's where, for me, it was like, okay, this is a really fun story. So check it out. One last thing, this book is available as an ebook through Access 360, so if you want to read it, you can check it out there, or you can get a physical copy from the library. We still have curbside service, and we're open for grab and go, so check it out. And thank you for watching. I will see you again soon.